Hello everyone and welcome to the top 5 Zelda fan theories, where fans like yourself send in your favorite Zelda theories. We go through, pick out our 5 favorites, discuss them, and then you all vote on which of those top 5 is your favorite, where the winner will get a $20 eShop card or an amiibo of their choice. Remember to leave your thoughts on each of these theories and which is your favorite in the comments below. This way, we can go through, read all of your comments, discuss all of the theories with you, and to help us select which of these theories is the best. On the next video, we will even read some of your responses, so if you do leave a comment, you have a chance of it being featured in our next video. Theory number 1, from Madison. The origins of the Kokiri from the games tell us the Koroks are the natural form of the Kokiri. Thanks to the Deku Tree, they take on a similar look to Link to help him. However, the book Zelda Encyclopedia tells us that the Kokiri used to be normal Hylian children. Which of these is true? So this is something that I came across a long time ago, and I just thought it was odd, but if you read through Hyrule Historia and Zelda Encyclopedia, and you actually have knowledge of playing through the games themselves, you know there are a lot of contradictory statements from the books about the games. So I look at it sort of the same way that people used to look at Star Wars, in the sense that follow the information that's in the movies first, and then you go buy the books. But if a Star Wars book goes against what is said or done in the movie, then you follow what the movie says. So in this case, the primary source of information would be the games. So you follow what the games tell you, and if you come across something that the games can't tell you, then you would go by what the book says. But if the book is contradictory to what the games say, then you have to replace it with what the actual game says. In this case, we go by what the games tell us and what the actual creators of the game says, in that the Kokiri and the Koroks are the same race, that the Kokiri's natural form is the Korok, and the Koroks are spirits that can take on basically any form they want thanks to the Deku Tree, who originally gave them life. Theory number 2, from Tetra, about the 4th Triforce piece. The 3 golden triangles in the Triforce represent the Triforce of power, wisdom, and courage. So what about the 4th piece? My theory is that the 4th piece represents the Triforce of kindness. In Majora's Mask, there are 4 great fairies called the Great Fairy of Courage, Great Fairy of Wisdom, Great Fairy of Power, and the Great Fairy of Kindness. Is it a coincidence that the first 3 fairies each represent a piece of the Triforce, and the 4th represents the missing 4th piece? Does Wind Waker also hint at this, with Princess Zelda's name being Tetra? Okay, so I don't think that's a hint from Nintendo, with her name being Tetra. Second, technically Termina is a completely different land than Hyrule, so representations in Termina wouldn't necessarily carry over to Hyrule. With the 4 different fairies, you can relate it to what is actually in Hyrule with Twilight Princess, to where we have the light spirits, or the guardians, whatever you want to call them, sharing a name with the goddesses and the land that they watch over. The 4th light spirit is Ordona, of course, all of which share the same name, Din, Nehru, and Furore, the 4th spirit being named Ordonia, which actually takes a few of the letters from each of the other 3 goddesses, putting them together and creating the 4th spirit's name, similar to how the 4th Triforce piece can only be seen when the other 3 are also together. And the 3 golden goddesses also came together to create not just the full Triforce, but they all came together to create Hylia, who also watches over the Triforce. And we also have the Temple of Time, or what would become the Temple of Time is originally called the Temple of Hylia, and the Temple of Hylia also has the Gate of Time, which allows Link to travel back and forth through time. It has the Pedestal of Time, which holds the Master Sword, and Phi, who was created by Hylia, tells Link that she is sending messages to him from Hylia, who sits at the edge of time. And I have another Zelda theory going a lot more in depth on this, and Breath of the Wild's timeline placement, which shortly after the video went up, Nintendo actually updated their own official website on the placement of Breath of the Wild in the official Zelda timeline, which actually helps prove the theory video that I posted. I'll leave it in the description below. Again, it covers Hylia, a possible 4th Triforce piece, and a lot of interesting information about Breath of the Wild that may carry over to Breath of the Wild 2. So please go check that video out if you haven't already. But basically, my thought on this theory is that if there is a 4th piece, it is represented by Hylia, who is the goddess of time, since the Temple of Hylia is eventually changed to the Temple of Time and everything in it relates to time. You play the Ocarina of Time to open the Gate of Time to get the Master Sword, which she created from the pedestal of time, and eventually, again, the Temple of Time becomes the Temple of Hylia. So if there is a 4th piece, since the Zelda games relate so much around time, I would say that it is a 4th piece representing time, and Hylia would be the goddess of time, since the temple where you worship her, again, literally called the Temple of Time. And there actually is a goddess of time in Hyrule. That's the important part. In Hyrule, Princess Zelda tells you she will pray to the goddess of time to watch over Link while he makes his way to Termina. And then once you're in Termina, they also speak of a goddess of time. And then of course Phantom Hourglass has their own goddess of time, but I think it's a lesser goddess of time. It's just the fairy that's with you. In the same way that the Oracle games also has Nehru and other people who share the same name but are not the goddesses. They just share the same name with the goddesses. Theory number 3. From Birdie Senpai. It's crossed my mind a few times that what we may get in Breath of the Wild 2 might end up a repeat of Skyward Sword, except at the polar opposite end of the timeline. A particular Zelda YouTuber, Nintendo Black Crisis, who we have actually worked with here on this channel, posted a theory video highlighting a suggested possibility by someone they knew that time travel could be involved, and Link and Zelda consequently could travel back to the calamity of 10,000 years ago. This immediately made me think of Skyward Sword, in which it's heavily hinted that Link was Hylia's chosen hero of long ago, and that his traveling back in time to defeat 𝐓𝐻𝐼 is where the legend came from in the first place. What if, in Breath of the Wild 2, we're doing essentially the same thing? Link and Zelda may travel back in time to the calamity and prove to be the hero and princess who started that legend in the first place, by helping to defeat the calamity that led to the events that have just unfolded in Breath of the Wild. I don't think it's all that likely, but I'd take and love any tie-in to Skyward Sword that I can get. So this is very interesting. I'm not sure what you were talking about with the part about Nintendo Black Crisis talking about a possible theory from someone else that time travel could be involved in Breath of the Wild 2. I think it's completely possible. Almost every 3D Zelda game has had time travel in some way or another. Ocarina of Time had the 7 years, Majora's Mask had the 3 days, Wind Waker had time frozen in Hyrule Castle under the ocean, Twilight Princess had you travel back in time when you walk through the door leading to the Temple of Time, and of course Skyward Sword had you traveling really far back in time. However, with the second part of your theory, I don't think Skyward Sword had Link and everyone travel back far enough in time to be the original heroes that first killed or defeated 𝐓𝐼. Otherwise, we would have been fighting alongside Hylia and the other original heroes that fought alongside her. Instead, 𝐓𝐼 gives a weird sentence about him existing throughout all time or something weird like that. In any case, I've been saying for a long time that I wanted something in Breath of the Wild to where Link goes to the Temple of Time, the goddess statue is moved to the side or just not there entirely, and he places the Master Sword inside a new pedestal that would be there, and it turning out to be the pedestal of time from the original Temple of Time that we see in Ocarina of Time, and that allowing Link to travel back in time the 100 years to stop the calamity before it even happens. But knowing Zelda, that would likely create yet another timeline. Theory number 4. We actually have 2 from Just X. The first one. I was thinking of something weird last night. Actually, I think I posted about it. But what if the Yuga Clan are not Ganondorf worshippers, but they are 𝐓𝐼 worshippers? It would be an interesting thought if they were the ones who put Ganondorf into the stasis the same way that the monks can put themselves to stasis. And the reason why we ended up getting the Calamity Ganon and all of its blights is because they are using whatever malice is coming from Ganondorf's body and siphoning it to the land above. Like, why are Link and Zelda exploring the underground? Could they have seen leftover malice and followed it to its source? And by disrupting whatever was going on, Ganondorf awakens and learns that the Yuga Clan, the very clan whose goal was to resurrect their demon king, were the cause of his current state. This is actually very interesting. Of course, in A Link to the Past's backstory, there's the clan that come and try to resurrect him as well and get him from the Dark World. But they're a very, very different clan, although they share the same goals as his followers from Twilight Princess, which is basically just Zant, and the followers from the Yiga. So I'll be very interested to see more of what the Yiga can bring to the lore of The Legend of Zelda in Breath of the Wild 2. Very good thought though. He has a longer theory, which is why I saved it for the last, and he's been wanting us to talk about this for a long time, so theory number 5. Okay, as promised, the Impa Theory. This is the abridged version of a very large explanation due to character restraints and courtesy to those who don't like a lot of reading. This is only bullet points. If you wanted to see the deeper explanation of the theory, PM me and I can send you the link to the doc. So if anyone is interested in going more in depth on this specific theory, join our Discord where you can talk to him yourself, where we have a channel dedicated exclusively to people discussing different Zelda theories. We also have a lot of the other Zelda YouTube content creators discussing theories on there as well. He says, there are several deities we see in the Legend of Zelda series. The most common and talked about deities are 4 goddesses: Farore, Nehru, Din, and Hylia. We know an awful lot about Farore, Nehru, and Din. They were at the beginning. In fact, they descended into darkness and chaos and created Hyrule Country. When they were done, they ascended back into the heavens and left behind a relic, the Triforce. He just goes over what Ocarina of Time tells us, and then ends with, it is not confirmed, but is very heavily theorized that Hylia is the goddess of time. Interesting. I just got done talking about this. I like that it actually connects to this theory. Very interesting. Continuing, I won't go into all of those theories, but what I'm about to propose is based on that theory. There are 4 goddesses and 1 Triforce that symbolizes the 4 goddesses. This is not a Quadriforce or a Tetraforce theory. I'm not saying we are missing a piece that belongs to Hylia. I'm saying that 3 pieces of the Triforce united to form 1, symbolizing the 4 goddesses, which is actually exactly what I just got done saying. Very interesting. What is the Triforce? 3 triangles representing 3 physical things in nature, that while they are together, a 4th piece is made out of negative space, representing a non-physical but very natural thing, time. Again, exactly what I just got done talking about. Like Farore, Din, and Nehru are seen together, we do not see Hylia with them. The unsplit, full Triforce is representing 4 goddesses, but there is no 4th piece. Goddess relics had guardians of guardian spirits protecting the relics. Farore uses the Great Deku Tree to guard both her spiritual stone and her goddess sphere later on. Nehru's relic and guardian, Jabu Jabu, is entrusted to the Zora. Jabun watches over it in the Wind Waker. Din's relic is protected by the Gorons in Ocarina of Time. In Wind Waker, her guardian Valu watches over the Rito, who hold her relic. I propose that Hylia has chosen her guardian to be none other than Impa. If you were to take a look at the games she appears in, you see her always as a maidservant of who? Zelda. Who is Zelda? The descendant of the woman from Skyward Sword, who was also Hylia incarnate. Hylia's blood flows through the veins of every daughter of the royal family. The goddess of time incarnate needs one person to help her, and when Impa is at an old age, it is she who helps the chosen hero to save her princess. She is in fact the same Impa we see in every game. She is never the same age. She's very young starting off in Skyward Sword, and we see her very old at the end of the game. She's a bit older in Ocarina of Time, middle-aged in the Oracle series, older in Legend of Zelda and Adventure of Link, older than that in Breath of the Wild, and at her oldest at the end of Skyward Sword, where she eventually fades away. If the Sheikah in Breath of the Wild have the ability to fold space and time to teleport, what is to stop them from using that technology to travel through time, sending Hylia's chosen Sheikah, Impa, back to crucial parts of history to ensure that destruction does not befall her creation? Let's relook at the games she's in. They're either the games where time travel is a pivotal part of the story which can cause massive changes in history, or they are games in the Downfall timeline, which is the timeline that is most broken, because the hero of time failed to defeat Ganondorf, and now a new hero needs to be found and guided along his destiny. So, I like some of the ideas and concepts going on there, but it's been confirmed by the creators, and I believe the books as well, but I'm not too sure on the books. But I know Aonuma and Miyamoto have mentioned that it is a different Impa each time. Impaz herself was supposed to be Impa, but then that was changed, and originally she was even supposed to be a male Sheikah member, which at that time hadn't existed yet, I don't think. But in Twilight Princess, of course, it began as Wind Waker 2 eventually became another sequel to Ocarina of Time, which would have focused on adult Link from Majora's Mask and Ocarina of Time, and adult Princess Zelda, who would also be returning as Sheik. I don't have a lot to say on this, but I would love to hear what everyone else thinks about this longer theory. Do you think each of the Impas were supposed to be the same? Do you believe in the fourth Triforce piece? Do you believe the Yuga Clan were trying to resurrect Demise, and not necessarily Ganondorf? And of course, give us your thoughts on the Kokiri or Korok theory as well. Thank you everyone for watching, and have a great day.